As the plane started its descent, my heart sank as we entered into a thick haze of cloud. I would not see the sun again for more than a week. Little did I know that that was the least of my worries. Language was also about to disappear from my vision, and for the next month I was to discover life as if without ears or mouth. Lost in a thick cloud of non-comprehension and non-verbal communication, it would be down to my observation, imagination, and creativity to navigate and discover the new world I was about to find myself in. The year was 1999, summer. Just 2 weeks prior, my long-awaited and long-planned-for trip to Africa had fallen through. With 2 months vacation time ahead of me and nowhere to go, a friend of a friend suggested I go to China. They had a spare room in the capital. It was mine if I wanted it. Having no idea what awaited me, I decided to say yes. Welcome to the Hidden Secrets of Learning podcast. My name is Ruth Zannis and I've been working in learning and education for over 15 years. From day one in the classroom, I knew something was seriously wrong with our learning systems, and I set out to discover and develop better, more effective ways for adults like yourself to learn, process and assimilate knowledge. Each episode I will be sharing with you a secret behind real learning, understanding how we actually learn, the science of learning, and the psychology of adult learning behavior. And if you're lucky, you may even get to experience some of it for yourself. So subscribe and stay tuned. This is the Hidden Secrets of Learning podcast episode 3. Today's episode is called I Learned Chinese in Just 1 Year, the beginning of the journey. One less is much, much more. It's part of a new mini-series I will be sharing with you every 2 or 3 episodes, full of anecdotes about the time I decided to challenge myself to learn Chinese in just 1 year. Specific learning tips will also be shared on conquering language learning once and for all. So if you've always dreamt of being able to speak another language but could never get your tongue around anything more than your own, stay tuned and keep listening. As far as I could see were people, a sea of people, and as busy as it was, everyone kept calmly moving forward like one large gentle wave. It was mesmerizing. Going through customs, I quickly asked my friend how to say hello in the local language and also how to count to 10. This, along with the soon acquired expressions, 多少, how much, 不要, no, I don't want it, 太贵, that's too expensive, and 好吃吗, does it taste good, somehow helped me to negotiate my way around town. From day one, with a vocabulary as extensive as my number of fingers, I was able to bargain entirely in Chinese. At that point, learning how to say in Chinese that I didn't speak Chinese and all the rest would have blown what few brain cells were still functioning. So yes, if you are running on the barest minimum, make sure it is the most useful vocabulary imaginable. The bare basics you learn in school, how many brothers and sisters do you have? What colour are your eyes? Dare I even add, how old are you? That wouldn't even get you butter on your bread. Actually, it most likely wouldn't even get you bread. So, lesson number 1 is all about less being more and learning the really useful stuff. The stuff you can use straight away, even if you don't know an ounce of grammar. Armed with that, I bargained my way through Beijing. I'll never forget that first morning in the capital. I went with my friend to the market. It was just downstairs from where we were staying. We wanted to buy a watermelon. Now, knowing that bargaining was part of the local landscape, for the first time ever, I tried my hand at it. I tried to negotiate a 10 yuan watermelon down to 2 yuan, and was disappointed to end up paying 4 yuan. I felt defeated, and when I got back with my watermelon and started sharing it with others, my face of defeat quickly changed to a face of success. Apparently, 10 yuan was what everybody pays for watermelon. They were dumbfounded I had got the price down so low. So, lesson number 2, don't worry about being perfect. No, scrap that. Says I who likes everything to be just so. No, there are times to be near perfect and times when it plain doesn't matter. This is one of them. Most people I know will hold off speaking in another language for fear of making mistakes or not having enough vocabulary. No, from day one, you need to find ways to speak and practice, real-life context preferably. So I was talking and even haggling from day one, so don't wait for perfect. And never forget, if you choose the most useful words to learn, if you use them right, a few words can go a long, long way. Now, let's continue with the story. Anyway, because at this point I had no intention of even learning the language. I had only said yes to this person I didn't know who had a spare room in their apartment on the other side of the world in China, and now, in the country, speaking a few words of the language was pretty much a survival thing. Honestly speaking, I just needed to fill my belly. But things didn't stay that way for too long. You see, I've always been fascinated by people, and if I'm to travel to a country, what's important to me is not to see all the monuments. Well, at some point I'll see them, but what's really important to me is mixing with the people, sharing food, sharing stories. That's when you see the real culture. That's when you get to see the heart of a country. So this is where being able to bargain started to have its limits. I could interact on a so-called business level, but not on a personal level. The obvious solution, you may probably be thinking, would be to speak to people in English. After all, so many people in China all study the language. But this really wasn't enough for me. For those of you who already speak a second or third language, you will know that unless you are truly bilingual or know how to master a language with little, speaking in a second language will always have a tendency towards being slightly mechanical, whereas speaking in your first language will always be the language of your heart. Simply put, if I want to connect with people and understand them on their level, what drives them, what motivates them, what dreams they have, then I need to speak the language of their heart. So, here I was in a country where at the time I was one of few foreigners. The internet was still in its early days. I actually opened my first email account in an internet cafe in Beijing. Now, who still remembers Hotmail? Was your first mail a hot one? Yeah. Mobile phones were a luxury item, and travel was at a fraction of what it is today. At that time, relatively little was known about China to the outside world. Yet here I was, surrounded by this immensely rich culture and masses of people on a scale like I had never experienced before. I'll always remember going to one of the main train stations to catch a train north. First, the station was huge. It was huge, unlike any I had seen in London, New York, or Paris. Second, it was full of people. I mean full of people. As far as I could see were people, a sea of people. Yet as busy as it was, everyone kept calmly moving forward like one large, gentle wave. It was mesmerizing. I wanted to discover more, and I knew the only way I could really do that would be to learn their language. The train was equally full, but from observation I could see no complaining. Everyone either squeezed onto a seat, sometimes 2 or 3 to a seat, or they simply pulled out a trusted piece of newspaper they always carried round in their back pocket, slowly unfolded it, and carefully placed it on the ground before carefully sitting on it. Then a second piece of newspaper would be unfolded and placed in front of them, and a bag of sunflower seeds would appear, and the majority of the train journey would be filled with cracking sunflower seeds. This was evidently a national pastime, as most people I observed had what looked like a chip in their front tooth, where they would place the seed, delicately crack it, extract the seed, and spit out the husk onto that paper on the floor, all without touching the actual seed. It was incredible. It was an art, and I sat there watching it for hours. Obviously, I wasn't too good at doing it myself. But anyway, the turning point came early in the morning of that train ride. It was a 24-hour journey, and we were travelling on hard seats, yeah. And the only food I remember taking on that train was watermelon. Yes, another watermelon, used for most of the ride as a pillow. So, anyway, it was early morning, and there was a lady sitting opposite me eating her breakfast. What looked like pickled garlic and various pieces of chicken. Emphasis on various. But that wasn't important. I was more taken by her face and her demeanour, her kindness, her gentleness. She kept smiling and talking to me, even wanting to share her food with me, and all I could do was smile back and wish I wasn't no better than mute. I had never felt so powerless as at that moment there, never wanted to talk to someone more, yet I was totally unable. I could tell that each person had their story hidden in the deep wrinkles, the hardened hands, and even the lean muscular physiques. I wanted to discover more, and I knew the only way I could really do that would be to learn their language, because in speaking another person's language, you speak the language of their heart. I determined that as soon as I returned to France, I would start learning Chinese, and I would give myself a year to do so. For more information about the science of learning or to get in touch about collaboration on your learning projects, go to www.ruthzannis.co. That's www.ruthzannis.co. To receive behind-the-scenes updates and join the daily discussion, follow me on Instagram at